Mic check, mic check. Hawa, Hawa. Hey, how you guys doing? What's up? What's up? All right. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys taking the time to do that each and every time when we're here live, especially you guys in the live chat. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys wanting to hear me read and talk about things I find here and these sources and these historical investigations, right? The research we do. Today we're gonna get back into a very great book. Shout out to Gloria Farley. Shout out in the memory of Gloria Farley. Rest in power in plain sight. Old world records in ancient America. I might be mistaken. She might still be alive, but this is a great book. She did a lot of great work. Um, Going through like hiking up in mountains, cliffs, on the side of rose forests all over the Americas. As I would say a middle-aged or elderly person, and it's amazing what she did. And she gathered a lot of great research regarding inscriptions, right? Things we've kind of talked about, you know, it's not gonna look good today, the images, but what she was finding here and how it correlates to like old world, Egyptian, Phoenician, Libyan, Viking, whatever, Celtic. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today. Appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. So you guys can hear me, right? Mic check, mic check, mic check. Yeah. What's up? What's up? Oh, yeah. So real quick, let me just, so we live, right? So I appreciate you guys' patience because we live. Yeah. So uh, again, we've already read previous chapters. I got the playlist in plain sight, old world records found in ancient America. If you guys missed out on the previous chapters, which was some really good reading, a lot of good stuff. Um, you know, so we're gonna read again chapter 6 today. All right, 1 second. And here and there, I'll be showing you some of the inscriptions that we're finding in the book. All right, as we go along. So, wow, wow. Welcome, welcome. In Plain Sight by Gloria Farley. Shout out to Gloria Farley. Get the book if you like it. I think it's a great book to have, actually. I would get it for sure. Great book. I purchased this one. Fair use. This is for education purposes, all right? Education purposes. And we go to chapter 6. Hopefully the music's not too loud. Education, review, critique, fair use. We go to chapter 6 of this book in plain sight. And it says, the graven images man is made to worship. If he does not have a God, he makes one. That's what Billy Graham said on a television broadcast September 5th, 1985. That you shall not make yourself a graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. That's in Exodus 24, the Revised Standard Version, right? Says man's search for God is inherent in all cultures and all times. People call him many names, gave him many forms, and sometimes, by association with the nurturing Mother Earth, the god was female. Sometimes the deity was split into many aspects with a form for each. In the struggle to understand their creator, men sometimes identified him with the sun or the moon, or even with animals and trees. But whatever the period or whatever the people traveled, or wherever the people traveled, they took their gods with them. Ancient gods in America. In attempting to identify old world people who came to the interior of America. Listen, they saying they came because they're finding all these old world inscriptions and culture and all that, but they're seen in reverse, right? This is the true old world. That's why they're finding that stuff here. It soon it was soon realized that it would be very helpful to first identify their gods. The people apparently had not heard of the second commandment or did not heed it, for they did not hesitate to record their gods in graven images. The stone cliffs and caves near the waterways of Oklahoma and adjacent states bear many petroglyphs of gods, so-called gods. Most of these were identified by comparison or comparing their prominent features with descriptions and illustrations of old world gods in the literature. They compared it with the ones over there in the literature, and there was the exact same ones on the rock here in North America, right? Some of the identifications were verified by translations from accompanying script, which actually gives the name of the deity. So when they are using Ogham or ancient Celtic or anything like that, that people were experts in that, when they're using that type of writing to try to decipher what they're finding in the Americas, just for example, they're able to identify this whole story, the gods, everything. It's the same story, guys. This is the true old world. It originates, so-called Atlantis, right? Atlantic's gods. If pins were stuck in a map of the area around the Mediterranean Sea, wherever similarities with the American images occur, they would almost encircle the sea. There are images in the American Southwest of the Canaanite Baal, or Baal, right? Listen, and Resheph, the Egyptian Anubis, and Sobek, the Carthaginian Tanit, and the Cretan bee goddess. All this is found in the Americas, she's telling you, right? Roman Mars appears, but with a North African connection. The Celts from Spain or the British Isles have left images of their Cernunnos, Mabo Mabona, Epona, Shilanagig, and the sun god, Bel, the Celtic version of Baal, as well as his variations, Belunus. Usually the sites containing images of gods also contain a mixture of Egyptian, Libyan, and Celtic scripts. Listen, this is what they're finding here in the Americas and the rocks, right? In the middle of nowhere, sometimes on the side of highways. This is what they're finding, guys. True old world right here. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain to you? Wake up. Add to these the African god Kang and the goddess Inanna from ancient Dilmun and Summer. It all becomes almost unbelievable. All the deities here, it almost becomes unbelievable. It becomes unbelievable. But they all appear on American stone. But they all appear on American stone, all right? Don't doubt it. You guys hearing? Can you hear me? No, I got this book for about 100 and something. I don't forget where I got it, but you should be able to find it. So you guys hear what she's letting you know, right? This is a pretty good chapter, we're getting into. It says here, let's say Mars. Many important discoveries have been accidentally made while searching for something else, a circumstance usually defined as serendipity. So it was with the recording of the first Mediterranean god, although more than 4 years passed between the discovery and the final identification. In 1973, every hour I did not spend in full-time employment was spent avidly searching for runic inscriptions. In June of that year, I saw a brochure published by the Oklahoma State Department of Tourism and Recreation to promote tourism in the Oklahoma Panhandle. One of the illustrations showed a petroglyph of a male figure holding 2 spears pointed downward. A few inches from him were strange letters carved into the stone, but the This inscription had been cut in half by the photographer. This fact caused frustration followed by action. 3 weeks later, after expending exceedingly great effort to locate the site, involving long-distance calls to state agencies, parks, newspapers, and landowners, and making arrangement for time off from employment, a July twilight found my colleague Earl Syverson of California and myself bumping along on a roadless area in a truck driven by a ranch foreman. There she goes on one of her adventures. This is what I'm saying, guys. Just picture her, right? We were also accompanied by the lady of the ranch. Both preferred to remain unnamed. The setting more than 600 miles from the timbered hills of my home from my home seemed as strange as moonscape. As a moonscape, like being on the moon, she's saying. We were in the sage and cactus-covered region drained by the Cimarron River, which is a tributary of the Arkansas and Mississippi rivers. Reaching the base of a very high mesa, we were told the Indians used to crowd buffalo off the top for the kill. At the time of the site was believed to be in Oklahoma, but it was found later to actually lie 1/3 of a mile into Colorado. In the fading light, we could see carved on a cliffside the sought for petroglyphs, with the entire inscription at the right of the figure. All we could do was arrange to be returned in the truck again the next morning at 10 o'clock, for in this sparsely populated area, our motel reservations were still almost 50 miles away, and our dinner 4 hours in the future. In the heat of the next morning, we were duly deposited at the site called Picture Canyon. We carried a jug of water, 2 sandwiches, tracing paper, crayons, a camera, a gallon of liquid latex, and a paintbrush. Before starting any exploration, we gazed intently at the figure we dubbed Spears, in parentheses. And I'm going to show you that image, right? 6'1". So this is what they're talking about, guys. Let me just... All right. This is what they're talking about here on the other side. Sorry, this is like right here, this guy right here, up here, and the inscriptions. See how close I can get. Here you go. All right, you see that? So I'm gonna be doing that here and there, guys, just so I can show you what they're talking about. All right, we'll get interrupted a little bit. All right. So it says that he stood 26 inches high and was carefully incised in lines which were now very weathered. Someone had chalked the figure, a very bad practice, because chalked line immediately becomes just the opinion of the chalker on what is actually there, which can be an error. The figure had a pointed chin, which might indicate a beard. His shoulder line was in broad V shape, with arms out and forearms up. No hands were carved, but long spears that pointed down hung from the end of each arm. He wore a belt, no trousers, to cover the genitals. Crossed lines on his chest suggested a breastplate. Like many examples of old world art, the head and body were drawn face on, while the feet were shown in profile. Fortunately, the inscription was not chalked. The first line of definite script consisted of plainly cut letters resembling our own alphabet, yet not quite our alphabet, jammed and joined together. The second line was very different, consisting of larger letters cut in square shapes. We were deeply disappointed because definitely none of it was runic. At that time, I still thought that the only inscriptions that would be of value were those in the runic alphabets of ancient Scandinavia. However, we began recording the inscription. Nearby, but high above these petroglyphs, was a large cave within the cliff wall. We had no ladder. We were not young, and my broken left hand was encased in a splint. Wow. So climbing was impossible. Syverson traced from the edge of the cave floor an incised turkey track, the same shape as the runic R. which gave us some encouragement. The high cliff face to our right seemed to have fairly smooth surfaces, so we started to explore in that direction. To our astonishment, for 1/3 of a mile, there was a wealth of petroglyphs which seemed to be labeled with strange script. The decision about what to record with the limited time and materials available became very difficult, as the temperature was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the sun-baked stone radiated heat like an oven. It was an ideal surface for drying latex quickly. We slapped a coat of the liquid latex on everything of interest. We then retraced our steps, painting on more coats of latex. Before 3 o'clock, the latex molds were dry enough to pull off. After it was too late to make more latex molds, we found two very important petroglyphs which we could only photograph and trace. One female figure seemed important because she was holding up something in her right hand. Unknown then was the fact that she was a goddess, or that later discoveries of her image would be very significant. An entire chapter of this book is devoted to her story, all right, which we shall get future episodes, right? Her name is Tanit. Near her image was found a petroglyph of a ship made of lettering, described as a rebus ship, in parentheses, in the chapter. They came in ships, all right, and that was chapter 2 where we showed all these different petroglyphs showing ancient ships, guys, all over the Americas, looking like Phoenician, Viking, looking like the Asian ships, like big, huge ships, all over, like they were navigating, through. As we had finished our efforts before the truck arrived at 3 o'clock to pick up two very tired, very dirty, very sunburned people who had, in a short period of time, seen so much they did not understand. The sight was to draw us back many times in years to come. Each time we brought expanded understanding, more questions, and a ladder. It was 1975 when Dr. Barry Fell, all right, shout out to Barry Fell, director of the Ethnographic Society. We've read a lot of his reports and research and studies for education as well. His book, America, BC. He partnered up a lot with Gloria Farley and trying to decipher, and he helped her decipher a lot of the inscriptions she was finding. So, continuing, it says here that in 1975, when Dr. Barry Fell studied the image of the man with the spears and the inscription beside him, he gave an opinion, but with reservations. A whole new world of prehistory was opening to him through his own research and the contributions of others concerning discoveries in America. Rewriting history, guys, here. Things that they don't really talk about in mainstream. A drawing of spears without a translation was published in an early issue of the Epigraphic Society occasional publications. And that's what he's also in charge of that, those publications, articles, which is things we're gonna get into too, a lot of articles in that. I found a whole archive of that. It says, it was not until Fell visited North Africa in 1977 and was able to do intense research with Berber and Arab professors at the Libyan Studies Center, the Department of Antiquities, the Department of Education, and the Department of Ancient History that he reached a final conclusion. So this was his backup, right? Barry Fell, who people don't like to credit, don't like to give him the props he deserves in deciphering all these inscriptions and glyphs in ancient America, and telling you they're more classic versions of what they're finding in Europe, meaning they're older. It's a more classic, more older, antique version of what they found in Europe. What does that tell you? And that's Barry Fell letting you know. The guy who went to all these educational, scholarly departments to make sure that's when he reached his final conclusion. It says, adding previous discoveries from ancient Tunisia, Libya, and Morocco to the American ones, it was realized that Arabs were living with Libyans centuries before the birth of Christ and long before the spread of Islam. You guys hear that? That's big right there. Oh, look, these people were living together in another part of the world. Oh, so they had spread out, right? So what does that tell you? There was a center where a lot of the ancient world people were coming out of, and also related to ancient American nations. And you can't just say, oh yeah, there you go, we all Moors. That doesn't mean that. Must have much more understanding than that in context. Many nations were here, right? So, let me see, where were we? So when they're comparing those inscriptions with the ones in America, they're like, whoa. It was realized that Arabs were living here with, that's what he's saying. Romans and Berbers had also once lived side by side in North Africa. With this background of knowledge, Fell could write concerning the image with the spears. So this is his opinion. The figure represents Mars, the god of war. This is a bilingual Libyan inscription. The top line is in the Berber language and reads, "It is I, Mars. I, Amenji." Compare modern Berber, e.g., Amerji. The second line reads in Arabic using Libyan, Numidian alphabet. This is what he's using to decipher this. And then he got the letters MRSINI. Compare modern Arabic to MSR Ana, meaning it is I, Mars. He also mentions this petroglyph in his book, in his next book. An ancient Roman god declaring his identity in interior America, in an area reached by rivers in a period thought by Fell to be between the 2nd century BC, listen, and the 2nd century AD, question mark, right? Many people had seen this petroglyph and had called it Indian, with parentheses, but it had not impressed me as an Indian since my first glance at the brochure photograph. It is good that we recorded it so thoroughly in 1973. Since that time, 2 names have been carved above Mars' head, and the entire petroglyph has been traced with blue crayon and charcoal. When seen again in 1987, the genitals had been damaged, apparently by rubbing with another stone. Our latex mold remains the only true record. Mars, also called Ares, was the son of Jupiter and Juno. He was the god of war, the personification of the angry clouded sky. Although little worshipped in Greece, he was one of the principal Roman divinities. He is said to have originated in Thrace, a country noted for its fierce storms and war-loving people. Whereas really, the real ancient Thrace, man, that aligns with what we were reading recently about the biblical people in Asia, tribes of Israel. We had this book we were reading, right? Says the knowledge of Mars appears to have traveled west to Wyoming, where E.B. Renaud recorded a similar image in 1936. And I'm going to show you that image. It appears within a round shield designed as a castle garden at Castle Gardens in central Wyoming, where other images with old world affinities have been found. The figure holds his 2 spears downward, as in the picture canyon example, but wears a quilt and has a circle on his chest. 2 zigzag lines, which may represent lightning, extend upward from his shoulders. Renaud called him the warrior. Okay? And then they're going to talk about an ancient gravestone of a Roman warrior in Spain depicts a crude figure wearing a kilt. So then they got 2 examples, right? Let me just show you what they're talking about real quick, right? All right, you see the 2 images there? So the one on top is the one they found here. And then they got the other one from Europe, right? All right, my fault, guys. I'm gonna eventually scan this book and post it on my Patreon page. I already have like first couple chapters already scanned and posted on my Patreon page. But that's what they're talking about right there. All right. It says an ancient gravestone, so that's the one in the bottom that they're talking about. A diagonal cross is on his chest, like in the Colorado figure. Just like the one in Colorado with the X. He holds a downward pointing spear. The original illustration shows the figure surrounded on 3 sides by script. Donald Buchanan of Virginia identified the script as Tartessian script, and said the gravestone was said by mourning wife. His translation is earth engraved to a clansman who was need need loudly lamented. A handsome man, pray for him, the warrior, Edanor, my husband. Wow. Hey, this is what they're saying they're finding here, guys. Come on, man. So the warrior petroglyph in Castle Gardens, Wyoming, which resembles like ancient image gravestones of Roman warriors, so-called Roman. These three examples of warrior holding down pointing spears present clues for considering any similar petroglyphs as possible figures of Mars, the Roman god of war. All right, and then it goes on to another deity here, says Mabo Mabona. On the same day the figure with the spears was recorded, a latex mold was made from the same picture, canyon cliffside of a rather crude carving of a 10-inch high anthropomorphic figure with horns. All right, a figure with horns. On both sides of the figure and intersecting its arms were large M's. Intersecting his arms, large M's. Okay, I'm going to show you that as well. You guys can see. We ain't playing here, man. This is what they're finding. Okay. Oh, oh, oh. You see the one over here on this side. And then you see the Ogum. They're going to talk about the Ogum inscription on the other side. All right. You guys see? This is the thing they're talking about with the horns. The two M's. All right. We disappeared. Everybody disappeared. Everybody disappeared. Yeah. I'm just gonna think I'm gonna leave it like this. Yeah. But you guys like the music, as if I share, I can have the music. But we don't need the music. So regarding that inscription, right? It says, Fell published a photograph of this petroglyph in his first book on prehistoric America, America BC, with this comment. Ogham inscription in Oklahoma discovered by Gloria Farley throw light on the otherwise surprising occurrence of Celtic divinities in the archaeology of that state. Below, cliff engraving of Romano-Celtic face showing young horned god. Letters presumably stand for Mabo Mabona. All right, Mabo Mabola. A poem for Mabo, it says, continuing. The influence of the young Celtic god Mabo extended northward of Picture Canyon for approximately 100 miles, although evidence of this did not emerge until 1986. Waist high on a cliffside in southeastern Colorado was the plainest, most precisely cut, and best preserved Ogham inscription seen to that date. All right, Ogham. This is what they're finding here in Picture Canyon, Colorado, guys. Ogham. Here's the Ogham. Oh, hold on. That's the Ogham right there. There you go. That's the Ogham right here. Right here. You guys don't know what Ogham looks like. This is what they're finding here, and it's a more classic version. So, the best preserved Ogham. It says Warren Dexter, a photographer, and I had been taken by rancher friends to a canyon to see it. Nearby, I saw the very plain Ogham letters for BL, indicating we were in the former realm of the Celtic sun god Bel. Huh. It says the 34-inch Ogham inscription continued smoothly over two fractures in the vertical stone surface and was tied together neatly with a single stem line. It was obvious that photographs were not enough. Dexter helped to hold the tracing paper steady, while each stroke was meticulously traced for length as well as spacing. We both then double-checked the tracing for accuracy. Also recorded was a 5-stroke inscription, 5 inches above the large inscription. Although it had no stem line, the strokes were arranged in groups and were of different length, identifying it as possibly another Ogham inscription. No time was lost in submitting a copy of the tracing and photographs to Fell. His reply called the Ogham inscription fantastic and requested that we write a jointly authored paper, he wrote. It is a poem addressed to Mabo o Engus. This is what he's saying, right? Barry Fell, right? And the first example of an old Irish Uaim alliterative verse, Old Irish, ever found in Ogham script. Listen to what he's saying. This is big. That's why we're gonna get back into his book as well. He's saying this is the first example of an UAM alliterative verse ever found in Ogham script. They don't even got this in Ireland this old. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. You understand that? And also, of course, the first example of a UIM found in America. It also shows how N and NG are written in Ogham consonant without vowels. He had not previously realized that Oengus, another Jufo-Celtic god, was the same as Mabo, here designated with a combined name. A joint paper on the poem was published in 1987. Like, they really publishing scholarly articles on this, guys. Peer-reviewed stuff. Fell's translation was an Awim for Mabo, Og, gracious Mabo, Og, noble Mabo, O Engus, engender fruits, keep them safe for us, O Mabo. So 3 years later, one small stroke near the right end of the drawing of the Mabo inscription was challenged by colleagues. Although it could be seen in videotape at the same moment, they were declaring that it was not there. In an effort to verify the inscription, enlargements of photographs taken by 4 people in 1976, 1987, and 1989 and 1990 were compared. None of them exactly agreed. All right. So guys, real quick, just gonna put on my reading glasses. Don't mind me. All right. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. Just putting on my reading glasses. All right. So none of them exactly agree. This is possibly due to different lighting conditions at different seasons or hours when the various photographs were taken. My reply to this criticism was published in 1990 and explained. This is the point. How was the lettering at the time Fell made his translation, not how it appears on the stone years later. Fell translated what he was given, as he had not seen the inscription itself. What I gave him was what I felt was an accurate rendition of what was present on the stone when it was first seen. The only exception to this is one short stroke above the stem line, which hangs in midair, which should have been longer. The inscription could have been subsequently damaged by cattle, as it sits unprotected in a field at a height where they could rub against it, right? So it says here, continuing, it says Cernunos. So this is another deity, right? Cernunos. Every field trip brings some new knowledge. In subsequent trips to the large cave above the image of Mars in Picture Canyon, inscriptions were recorded, which proved to be written in Celtic Ogham, Iberian, Punic, and Egyptian hieratic, guys. This is what they're finding in Colorado. Listen, these are discussed in other chapters. Although alphabets which were not runic had been previously recorded in eastern Oklahoma, Picture Canyon was the definitive site which switched the bulk of my study from the Scandinavian countries to the Mediterranean area. This inspired the beginning of a study not only of the ancient scripts, but also the ancient deities of the Mediterranean and Celtic areas, and hope that petroglyphs of the gods found in America could be identified. Source material on the Celtic gods stated that Cernunnos not only wore horns and more commonly antlers, but was often associated with animal images, and especially with horned serpent. The most impressive figure of him in the old world is extant on the Gunderstrup cauldron, a large silver-plated copper bowl, right? In a copper bowl. Where did they get that copper? They talking about one of their best artifacts for this deity, right? In Europe, made out of copper, right? What type of copper? Is it coming out of Michigan? This is an ancient relic, right? Probably made in the first century BC. Although found in Denmark in 1891 in a peat bog, it is believed to be of imported Celtic manufacture. Both the inside and the outside of the bowl are covered with bas-relief images of gods and other scenes. One of the scenes on the inside of the bowl shows Cernunno seated, wearing antlers on his head, his right hand holding a torque large enough to be used as a neckband, and his left hand grasping the neck of a large serpent. The serpent has ram's horns. This wonderful artifact can be seen at the National Museum at Copenhagen. Although images of Cernunnos have been found in England and in northern Italy, he is usually considered a deity of ancient Gaul or France. One image found in Paris bears his name and can be seen in the Musée de Cluny. Cernunnos means the horned. The earliest image thought to be Cernunnos as a petroglyph in a cave in northern Italy at Val Camonica. All right, and we're going to show you those images they're talking about, right? The one in Italy, dated from the 4th to the 3rd century BC, and standing figure has torques hanging from his arms, has antlers, and at his side is serpent, also appearing to be horned. All this information was in mind in 1979 when exploring party examined a cliffside along the Cimarron River in Oklahoma, where other Celtic evidence had been found, right, in Oklahoma. A colleague, John Schuler, shouted, "Here is a figure of a man with antlers." He had found a dim and weather-worn anthropomorphic petroglyph. The figure, I'm going to show you this figure as well, had a square head, triangular thighs, and separately drawn fingers. He stood 15 inches tall and wore headdress with antlers. All right, this figure had antlers just like the god Cernunnos, the Celtic deity, right? His arms were outstretched with bent elbows. His right hand seemed to beckon, his left hand held a spear. Most gratifying was the design incised on his chest and extending down his abdomen, a serpentine form. The line that formed the top of the snake's triangular head extended into two stylized horns. The figure seemed to have all the attributes of the Celtic god, Cernunnos, all right? Cernunnos. So we got these images right here. We got these images right. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can get them better. So, oh man, this is bad. All right, there we go. So those are the ones. The one on the top is from Europe. The one on the bottom is what they found in Oklahoma. All right. Oh, my fault. Yeah, this really sucks how they do this. Uh, there we go. So the one on the bottom is what they found in Oklahoma. You guys see that? Okay. So he has horns and it's wide open. The ones on the top were the one on the Denmark and one in Italy. Okay. So, but it's the same deity that what they're trying to tell you. All right. So below this figure was a pattern of dots on a separate stone. The surface had been carefully smoothed before the dots had been drilled into a leaf-shaped frame. It was not until 6 years later that the dots were understood to be another form of Celtic Ogham script called Bricring. In this alphabet, the number of the dots and groups indicates a sound value according to the letters, numerical placement in the Ogham alphabet. Fell explained, and this is according to Fell, what you and I have called Cernunnos till now for that was the only name given in the literature from Britain. Imitated from the Gauls, is not here called by that name. He is called by the Scottish name Caberfi, Caberfi, written in the Scots dialect of Gaelic. So it probably sounds different, I'm probably saying it wrong. So written in the Scots dialect of Gaelic, it reads DCBRFS, Dia Caberfi, or this is Caberfi. This is a rather late 8th century AD spelling of what was earlier Caberfid. It means literally antlered or horns of the deer, and antlered, right? See, just like the petroglyph they found in Oklahoma. The word survives into modern times as the ancient battle cry of the Seaforth Highland Regiment of Clan Mackenzie. All right. Clan Mackenzie has this symbol, right? And they find this symbol that the Clan Mackenzie uses in Oklahoma, ancient Oklahoma. Alikshita Okla, you already know. Let him know he's in Oklahoma. Says the leaf-shaped petroglyph that you label from beneath Cernunnos reads, this is Cernunnos. If you want to call him by the Gaulish name, you can do so. But I think it is now quite clear to me that the Scots did come here from Northern Ireland, the Western Isles, and West Scotland. So because they're finding that here, right? They're finding this in America, guys, in plain sight, right? They're finding it in Oklahoma. There's oh, the Celts, the ancient Irish, these people must have come here. But again, right? What do we know? If anybody was to cross the Atlantic first, it would have been American Indians. The winds are more favorable. The currents are a lot stronger. It's 4 times harder to come from that way. I mean, remember all the drop we got from before, right? Yeah. So they was like, wow, they were here, they were here, they were here, but they've been seen in reverse the whole time. America's the true old world. All right, this is a great book. I told you, this is all the stuff they don't teach us. This would change history. All this stuff right here, that they would make it mainstream, allow people to learn this. They would focus and try to, investigate better, fix the textbooks, and teach the children real history, just for educational purposes, fair use. So it says, if you want to call him, sorry, Fell had translated other Ogham inscriptions from southeastern Colorado by this time. These were written in the Scots Gaelic dialect and labeled horse petroglyphs, as described in the chapter The Equine Enigma. Uh-oh, we're going to get into that one. Apparently, another image of Cernunnos exists at San Cristobal, New Mexico, although I have not seen it. All right, and I'm going to show you that. Bill Line of Lamy, New Mexico, gave me a photograph he had made at this site. It was explained to him that it resembled the Celtic god Cernunnos because it was the antlered figure of a man holding up horned snake in his right hand. Wow. The petroglyph shows the anthropomorphic figure only to the waist. So this is in New Mexico. It literally doing what they say, the other deity does in Europe, as you guys can see. Let me see. See the one on the other side over here. So he got that's a man holding up his arms with antlers, right? And he's holding up a snake, a horned snake. Look at that. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. Look at that. Oh man, I wish I can play it better for you guys. There you go. There we go. You see that? And this is the other one on the other side, so you guys can see what they're going to be talking about soon. Look at that. The horned man, antlers holding up the snake. The sun god alphabetic symbol, and recording petroglyphs and scripts in the Oklahoma Panhandle and the southeastern Colorado area, I repeatedly noted a P-shaped symbol, usually reversed. It was sometimes upheld in the right hand of an anthropomorphic figure as if it were important. Fell said that the symbol was the Phoenician word for sun disk. You hear that? As explained in the chapter, an affinity for Tanit. This was the motivation to try to interpret both the symbol and its sound as R, pronounced Ra. Ra was the principal sun god of the ancient Egyptians, huh? Where was ancient Egypt? Where was the true ancient Egypt? Where was Tamari? This is yeah, of the ancient Egyptians, not modern fake uh, locations, right? The Egyptologist Sir E.A. Wallace Budge wrote that in prehistoric times, so when we're talking about prehistoric times, we most likely all kind of probably talking about the Americas, right? You know, the Masons wrote that in the Masonic books, right? I mean, we've read that. I ain't making this up. When you want to go to prehistory, then you got to look at America. That's what they said. So that in prehistoric times the Egyptians were monotheistic, later becoming polytheistic. This continued until Pharaoh Akhenaten unsuccessfully attempted during his brief reign, which ended in 1362 BC, to again pull his people back to the worship of the sun disk, his idea of one God. Two important references on early Mediterranean alphabetical symbols were written by Jensen and Thiringer. These are used in the following section to discuss the evolution of the peace symbol. In the early Egyptian hieroglyphics, some symbols were used for ideas and some for sounds. The ideogram for the sun god was an eye, various forms of which developed into a simple circle representing the iris with a dot for the pupil. But the phonetic representation of Ra, the R sound, was a pointed oval, a stylized representation of a human mouth. Because the Egyptian hieroglyphic method of writing was cumbersome, they developed by 2400 BC a cursive form written on papyrus called hieratic. It is interesting to note that the hieratic representation for the sound R is an oval with a tail, very similar to a left-facing P. The North Semitic or Shemitic alphabets of the 13th and 14th centuries BC all had the shape of P, right, with the loop to the left, just like Paleo-Hebrew, he's saying, as their letter for the sound R, although the loop was sometimes triangular and sometimes rounded. This representation was also in the alphabets of the Canaanites, the early Hebrews, the Samaritans, the Moabites, and the Phoenicians. All these people lived along the eastern edge of the Mediterranean Sea. Which one? The Gulf of Mexico, or you talking about one today, or which one? Talking about ancient time? My fault. There we go. The same letter form was included in the Aramaic alphabets of the 8th and 9th centuries BC. It also appeared on Maccabee coins dated from the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, and on the Hebrew Bar Kokhba coins from 130 AD. The left-facing P also has the sound of R in the Cretan linear script. When the seafaring Phoenicians founded the colony of Carthage on the North African coast, all right, so Cartagena, Cartago, that was here too. So which one are we talking about, right, buddy? Let's just go with what they're saying. So when they founded that in 814 BC, they of course took along their alphabet, which is referred to as Punic. After this city fell in 146 BC, some of the people fled to another Phoenician colony, which had been established at Gades in Iberia, modern Cadiz in Spain, modern Cadiz, huh? Where that lady yesterday we were reading was from, where it had the that she wanted one of those servant Apache slaves, remember? She was from Cadiz. I told you, do these people really, they all pale skinned in 1500s, 1600s, right? So these are the people that were enslaving the Apache or putting them to work in their house, right? A lady from Cadiz, Spain, right, in the Iberian Peninsula, or Gades in Iberia, which is Cadiz today, where the same form for the sound R, the left-facing P, had already passed into the Iberic alphabets. Even the pre-Roman Etruscans of northern Italy employed this form in their alphabet for the sound R. The Greek alphabet, which many scholars believe developed from the Phoenician, from Paleo-Hebrew. The Greek is from Paleo-Hebrew and Latin. I've been showing you guys that. I've shown you guys that, right? It all comes from a source. There's an original source. There's an origin and center to everything, you know? So, which influence the systems. Oh, sorry. Where was I? The Greek alphabet, which many scholars believe developed from the Phoenician, influenced writing systems along the northern shores and on the islands of the Mediterranean Sea. Although they also use the P form, which the loop facing left for the R sound, they usually turn the loop to the right. It still exists as the modern Greek rho or RHO. All right. You guys can picture what they're talking about. You know what they're talking about, right? And that's a Christian symbol too, they still use. Imagine that's Ra. Oh, Hermetics, the Roman alphabet, which we use, developed from the Greek. The former P symbol with a stroke to the right forms the English letter R. Of the five P symbols which were discovered and recorded in the American Southwest, three are in the left-facing style of the Phoenicians, Punics, and Iberians, and two are in the right-facing Greek style. We got both forms here. This is what I'm saying. Like, come on. But all are associated by context or through translated inscriptions with the Mediterranean area. In 1979, I discovered it in the Oklahoma Panhandle on the bank of a dry river, a 9-inch anthropomorphic image which seemed to be very important for the following reasons. He held upward in his right hand the left-facing P, while above his head was inscribed another P. Wow. I'm going to show you guys that. Turn to the right, mounted as if on a standard left, on a standard, mounted as if on a standard. Okay, that's it. The man's head was composed of what seemed to be alphabetic lettering, and on his arms and both his sides past his knees were marks, which signified either radiance or might be a fringe to his clothing, fringes, made of Ogham script, which may in future be translatable. Yo, this is ill. So they're saying the image not only is an image of a man, but it also is hieroglyphics. Like his whole thing is, his whole image is hieroglyphic. Oh, I gotta show you guys this. Hold on. Let me get it. So it's this one right here. So you got the P, you see? And you got the P in his hand, as they're saying. And then his whole body is inscriptions or fringes at the same time. You guys see that, right? Pretty cool. But you see, they got the P, so-called P, and his whole body is an inscription. It's Ogham. His body is made out in an Ogham style. That's pretty cool. Hey, welcome, welcome. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So that's the guy, right? That's pretty cool. So at the right of his body was a serpent made by enhancing a natural crack in the stone. Although not fully understood, this anthropomorphic figure seems related to the sun. It may be significant that this figure is near a horse image described in the chapter, the equine enigma, which bears the left-facing P on his face, which is used as an eye. All right. The land along this dry river was to prove to be a treasure trove of petroglyphs and inscriptions and will be mentioned many times in this book. All right, this is in Oklahoma, right? Sites that are said to be along a dry river in western Oklahoma all are in this same area. The landowner does not wish to have the exact location revealed, so this vague description must suffice. All right, and now we're getting to, says here, Baal, B-A-A-L. It is enlightening to trace how the Canaanite god Baal developed into the Celtic sun god Bel. Various forms of Baal, the name literally meaning Lord or Master, that's what it means, were worshipped in Old Testament times in the lands at the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea. This probably began at the ancient site or city of Tyre, where he was considered to be a sun god. Baalbek in Lebanon was devoted to the worship of Baal or Bel, the sun god. When after the Exodus, the Israelites entered the land of Canaan, right? Talking about the true Canaan, have the right orientation, right? Part of ancient Phoenicia, the Baal worship there was considered to be in charge of the rain, thus controlling the fertility of the harvest. As the Israelites were an agrarian society, right, growing that corn, right, constantly concerned with successful crops, the worship of Baal was a temptation. Time after time, it is told in the Old Testament, especially in the book of Judges, how they abandoned Wah and turned to Baal worship. The oldest known image of Baal is depicted in a life-size bas relief on stone from this temple at Ras Shamra in Syria and is dated circa 2000 BC. Right, that's the supposed oldest inscription of Baal, right? This Canaanite version of the god of the elements wears a hat with horns and a very pointed top. A dagger is worn at the waist of his tunic. In his upraised hand, he holds an object described as mace. His left hand holds a spear with its point in the earth. Its upper end has sprouted into a tree. Okay, so they're gonna show a lot of Baal images here. I think they're gonna probably show us. It's probably found the same over here. All right, the different Baal images you guys see with the pointy hat, and we got those images here in America with the pointy hats. There's a lot in the codices and the Mexican codices, and amongst the American Indians and their clothing, their wardrobe, and their hats, other stuff they don't show you. Oh man, this sucks. There we go. So these are in different parts of the world and over there in Europe and Asia. Okay. Says another image of, so one of them is from Syria, another one from Syria, Sardinia, and Mycenae redrawn from Schliemann for Sardinia, right? So it says another image of Baal dated from 1500 to 1400 BC was excavated at Ras Shamra. This was a statue that once was a gold and silver plated. He also wears a pointed hat. His right arm is upraised as if it once held something. The left arm is in the same posture. All right, so they always kind of got the arm raised and a pointy hat, kind of like the general Baal depiction, right? Another Canaanite image dated circa 1300 BC shows the same tall headdress and posture of the arms. This figure wears a kilt instead of a tunic. A statue from ancient Phoenicia wears a tall hat and has a beard. The arms are in the same upraised posture. Like we've shown that in the stones of Mexico, ancient Mexico, we've shown this depiction. Like we've shown them with the pointy hat, the beard, the arm raised, everything, the exact same thing. I just remembered, you know. Baal apparently moved westward. A similar image from the Phoenician colony on the island of Sardinia wears the hat, the tunic, and holds his arm in the same way. When Dr. Heinrich Schliemann excavated Tyrants of Mycenae, a small bronze was found described along a small bronze was found described only as a beautiful archaic male figure. He wears the familiar tall headdress. His right arm is upraised and his left arm extended like all other images of Baal. It appears to be another link in his westward trek. Small images of Baal are displayed in museums in Athens, Greece, and Madrid, Spain. All right. So they're showing kind of the same images. It says, according to Bullfinch, the Druids, priests, and the Celtic nations of Gaul, Great Britain, and Germany thought of the existence of a god called Baal, which seemed to have, that's Beal, have an affinity with the Phoenician Baal. Both the Druids and the Phoenicians identified this supreme deity with the sun. So kind of grouping a bunch of people as Phoenicians and Druids, a lot of those people had a whole context, a whole background, ethnic background that you might not even think, but that includes a lot of Hebrews too. A lot of this started doing things they weren't supposed to, messing with other nations and stuff. But just so you got reference. It says westward to America, up the Mississippi River, and into Arkansas and Cimarron rivers, Baal apparently traveled with his worshippers. All right, you guys hear that? Why is he saying that? Oh, he was here. Baal was here traveling, walking around, with the Indians. They carved. So I told you these deities are real people, or these these stories have an origin here in the Americas, right? We've learned that so many different ways. So they carved this image on the side of a bluff by the Cimarron, at the same site where Cernunos and a marvelous image of Tanit were found. It was Schuler who first spied the petroglyph of Baal hidden behind a tree in May 1979. Smoothly incised, his diamond-shaped head wore what appeared to be a helmet with a sharp-pointed top, okay? He also wore a tunic. His four-fingered right hand was held upward. His left hand held a spear pointed downward, which seemed to be sprouting, a branch to the left. Although carved deeply and plainly, all the edges of the grooves and the sandstone cliff face were rounded and weathered. A similar diamond-shaped helmet is worn by another old world image of Baal. Okay, so this is what they found in the Baal, petroglyph of Baal in the Cimarron River. Okay, over here on this side. Oh, oh man, come on. Oh, there we go. Right here, the pointy hat, right? The arm raised, the other one extended. Then they got an example on the bottom, right? Finding Baal in Oklahoma, Mississippi, and all these places. See, that's the thing. These things they mean something. It's not just like random little kid drawings, right? They make us think like these are Stone Age people drawing things, when it's the same thing they're finding in Europe. And in Europe, they're saying, oh, this is ancient petroglyphs of Baal and Ogum and all this. But over here, they disregard it, you know? It says Baal in Colorado. No matter how many times a site is revisited, something is seen which was formerly overlooked. More petroglyphs similar to the Canaanite style of the god Baal were discovered in October 1986 at sites in which had been previously visited. Remote canyon in southeastern Colorado, with many artistic petroglyphs in both Ogham and Pifinog scripts, yielded a 6-inch incised figure of the god, dimly carved knee-high on a boulder. He wore a pointed hat and a tunic. His right arm was upraised, and it can be presumed that his left arm was also, although 2-inch square area of the surface was spalled off where the arm should have been. Okay, let me just take this off real quick. We'll cover, and this is what they're talking about right here. This is what they're finding. This is on the other side. Okay, so the one on the other side is the petroglyph of Baal, Purgatory River, Colorado. On the same stone was incised a 12-inch figure which looked very much like the standard uh, Christian interpretation of the devil, as he had horns and a tail. Wow. He was phallic and wore a tunic. His three-fingered hands were upheld in an attitude of worship. It was found that another kind of Baal, a deity of the ancient Philistines called Beelzebul, listen, existed among the northern Semites or Shemites in the tribe of Zebulun. In Hebrew, he was called Ba al-Sebub, or Lord of the Flies. Beelzebub was considered as the prince of demons, and as such is used as an alternate name in Christianity for Satan. It is possible that this same stone bears images of both the Canaanite and the Philistine Baals. All right. A cruder and probably older image of Baal, 14 inches tall, was found pegged on a cliff wall by the Purgatory River, Colorado. His head was a diamond shaped like the Oklahoma image shown in figure 619. He also wore the pointed hat and tunic. Both arms were raised and the right hand held a staff or weapon. Only this stance was slightly different. His feet and legs were drawn in profile, and he seemed to be walking. Hmm. That's the one we showed. Another Canaanite god, it says here, Resheph, right? Resheph. So there's a whole nother deity. These are all being depicted here, right? In ancient America, in plain sight. In plain sight, yeah. By Gloria Farley. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's a pretty good chapter so far. So Graven Image. So this chapter is about like what they believe is deities they were depicting, or mythological people, right? There's stories right here. It says Resheph, another Canaanite god, a king to Baal is Resheph, the war god. A bronze figurine of him from Megiddo, Israel, dated at 1500 to 1200 BC, is in the Archaeological Museum at Jerusalem. Resheph was known as a fierce god who, by war and plague, slew men by the thousands. The figurine was a sword in his right hand upraised over his head, which is adorned by the high headdress of Baal. He is in attitude. He is in an attitude of walking to the right, and an attitude walking to the right, just like man. It's like this guy, you see? See, it's almost like he's walking. You see how his knee is bended? So this is what they find in Colorado. So that's just like how Reshef's bow is basically doing. This figurine has a strong resemblance to a petroglyph found at San Cristobal site in northeastern New Mexico in October 1984. So I'm going to show you even another one. They have a better example. The 11-inch image is pegged near the bottom of a tall pink vertical slab of stone. He is running to the right, wearing the pointed headdress of Baal and carrying an upraised sword. As the site also contains other images of Mediterranean deities, this image is included here as a possible depiction of Reshef, all right? Mediterranean, that's what they're calling it. Again, the book is called In Plain Sight, all right, guys? We're in chapter 6. We read all the previous chapters already. There's a playlist I have. Just go to my playlist tab and you'll find one called In Plain Sight, and you'll be able to see the previous uh, chapters. We read a lot of them. I've shown some of them. I'm going to scan. I'm going to try to scan the next chapter so we can read it together because it does have a lot of images or inscriptions that you guys should definitely see. But, we're doing our best for what we got, right? I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys enjoying the reading so far. This is really very, very informative. This is very, very important. And this is like, this will rewrite history, all this stuff right here. They leave out of really real learning, advanced learning. Talk about advanced learning as we read yesterday. So, Baal to Bel. In the 3rd century BC, Celtic culture stretched across Europe from modern Turkey to Ireland. As mentioned earlier in this chapter, Fell had explained that Bel was the name of the Celtic sun god. Baal was considered a sun god in 2 cities of Phoenicia. Apparently, the transition of the name of Baal to Bel accompanied the westward geographical diffusion of his worship. It says, after my paper on Baal in Oklahoma, so this is stuff they wrote, right? And scholarly journals had been submitted in 1979 to Fell for publication, he wrote to me saying, Baal is almost certainly the same as Bel, and his name may be spelled with 3 Shemitic letters or with 2. I wonder if you could possibly help matters by searching your other records from the same region for BL. He then gave me examples of how the name would look in Libyan, Arabic, Hebrew, Phoenician, and Punic. He also included examples from Morocco, New England, and Egypt. So it says, proof that Fell's connection of Baal and Bel is correct exists in a petroglyph from Slim Canyon, Arizona, photographed by Robert M. Underwood. Okay, I'm going to show you all these images, right? The print was given to me by his father, Lyle. The pecked anthropomorphic figure wears the pointed headdress and tunic of Baal. His arms are held upward. From his right elbow hangs the straight line, the Ogum B, the Ogum B. From his left arm hangs 2 straight lines, the Ogum L. This combines a Semitic image with Celtic script, read from left to right in the Indo-European manner. Semitic script with Ogum. Come on now. That's what I'm saying. And then as people traveled outside of here, they kept, one side kept the Semitic only, the other side kept the Ogham style, and that became its own thing. But so this is from earlier where they're saying the guy got the sword just like this one right here. They're the same. And then this is what he's talking about now. So the arms are inscriptions with the pointy hat, right? And the arms are inscriptions. That's actually Ogham writing, the B and the L. All right. So these two right here, just to read the description, that says bronze figure of the war god Reshef Megiddo in Israel, and the other one is comparison to figure possible petroglyph of Reshef in San Cristobal, New Mexico. Same thing with the sword in his hand. All right. So it says here Bell in Arkansas. No, actually, sorry, I'm not there yet. It says Dexter in his book Ogham Consign and Tifinagh Alphabets, Ancient Uses. That's a book he's quoting. Shows examples of the Ogham BL from all over the world. He also explains that when it is written LB, that this is the right to left Semitic form. It is often shown without a stem line, okay? After becoming aware of this short Ogham inscription of 3 marks, a search was made through my collection of hundreds of tracings and photographs. Many petroglyphs were found to include the 3 Ogham marks, which means bell, thus clarifying formally puzzling identifications, right? Hey, Laverne, appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Much love. Says I'm here. I listen lots, but not always on the chat. Thank you. Hey, hey, appreciate you. Anyways, if you're here always on the chat or not, I know you probably always in the background following or catching up. So I appreciate you and thank you for the donation. Much love. It says, continuing, Bell in Arkansas. It says, the largest image of Bell which I have recorded in a life-size figure of a man shown only to his hips. He is included in a panel 12 feet wide and 8 feet high, which is only a remnant of a larger carved panel on the cliff face, which had been dynamited. The remaining portion, they're destroying the stuff, right? The remaining portion of the panel hangs above the ground by the Mulberry River in Arkansas, which is a tributary to the Arkansas River, right? So you guys can have a reference to where they're talking about if you know these areas, right? The panel was first shown to me in the summer of 1973, as the panel is on a stone face that is almost perpendicular to the ground, but does not touch it. One must hold to trees and cling like a fly to examine the very old and eroded grooves. It is impossible to obtain a clear photograph of the shaped panel or shaded panel. It was a young friend, Eddie Harrington, who finally made an exact tracing of the 12-foot panel on clear plastic. The figure of a man holds both arms upward. Straight marks on top of his head may represent sun rays and also might be Ogham script. At the left of the panel is a huge realistic fish, and above it is a 4-foot long rattlesnake with a forked tongue and 12 rattles. At the right of the panel, a bow and arrow points toward the figure. Above and below him is script, which is not Ogham. But most importantly, at his right elbow are the 3 straight marks, properly spaced for the Ogham BL, with an implied stem line. Here is the god bell with his name. All right. So let me just show you what they're talking about. Hopefully, it's gonna be hard to see this one. Hold on. Here we go. There's this one on top here, on this side. And then you guys look at the other one right away. You're gonna read about that one. All right. And then look at the bottom one. Disappeared. This is panel containing the god Bell, Mulberry River, Arkansas. It says Bell in Colorado. A site in Baca County, Colorado, is rich in petroglyphs, including Bell figure near ground level. A 16-inch horizontal design shows a man's face with a line across the forehead, which may indicate a cap. His left arm lies across the side of his face and the top of his head. The wrist is held upwards, and the hand, which shows 3 fingers, is drooping downward. Above the head is rounded rectangle, which encloses a symbol like a dumbbell. Two joined circles. This symbol also occurs in eastern Oklahoma in a Numidian inscription shown in figure 18.2 in the chapter They Mourn Their Dead. On the left side of the Colorado head is pegged a 10-inch long spear with 4 marks on the shaft, which may be ogham, uh, typical of this site. No, sorry, writing. So ogham writing. The spear points to separate stone 8 inches to the left with a smooth curved edge, a formation typical of this site. Into this stone is deeply and plainly cut the ogham letters BL. With each stroke 4 inches long, it is not understood what aspects of God Bel is portrayed, but it may relate to nearby sun symbols on a huge boulder. A second verification that this is a representation of Bel is the fact that his three drooping uh, is his three drooping, and then just fingers when read left to right, BL. So three drooping fingers. That's kind of what they're showing there. It's very small. And then it says Belenus in Oklahoma. The Matrix is real. A highly artistic anthropomorphic image exists on a section of stone by a dry riverbed in western Oklahoma. It appears to be a man of fire, with flames for a headdress, flames down his arms, and flames down his both sides. He was promptly called the Flame Man. When first seen in 1978, making a correct copy was accomplished when a latex mold, plaster cast of the mold, and tracing from the cast. So the Flame Man or Belenus right here, right? He's literally in flames. They're saying he's in flames. Oh God, come on. There we go. He's in flames. It literally says petroglyph of the Celtic god Belenus, Western Oklahoma. And in the head, what they're showing in the head is the actual inscriptions, LB or BL or LB in every way. A friend has suggested this is an Indian wearing feather robe. This may be possible, but nearby are Celtic sun symbols in Ogham writing. In this context, the very likely represents the Celtic god Belenus or Belinus, a name which means shining. Belenus, a solar or fire divinity, was worshipped in northern Italy, Gaul, and Great Britain. His name is seen in Beltane, one of the 4 major festivals of the Celtic year, when bonfires were lighted on the hills. The marks like flames might possibly translate into Ogham script, but this has not been attempted. However, his headdress appears to be made of Ogham strokes that say BL 3 times when read counterclockwise. The Burning Man, huh? We got a lot more, huh? Easy, easy. Says the eye, Bell, and Colorado. Another aspect of Bell are the images of the eye of Bell. 5 separate carvings of this eye symbol have been found in New Hampshire and Vermont. An inscription near one of the Vermont examples says, "Pay heed to Bell. His eye is the sun." All right, that's in Vermont. The same image was found in a remote canyon in southeastern Colorado, in a cave within a cliffside. Members of my exploring party had used a broken boulder on the floor of the cave as a stepping stone. Sitting on it to rest, I became aware that the top surface of was carved, a 13-inch eye. It had a 1-inch pupil, and the lashes of the lower lid were formed by the Ogham letters BL, reading from right to left in the Semitic manner. To the left of the eye was a complicated Ogham writing, which had not been translated because part of it remains on the ceiling from which the boulder fell. No ladder was available at the time to reach the ceiling to properly record the rest of the inscription. Okay, and see, hopefully you guys can see it. The eyes and the Ogham inscription, right? Says in 1986, the eye motif on the cave floor was partially destroyed. The landowner explains that a young man of the area who created sand paintings had apparently scraped it to obtain several shades of colored sand. If only he had known what he was damaging. The landowner and I had previously discussed whether this Eye of Bel boulder should be removed to the ranch house for its protection, but we had decided that it should be left in situ for the sake of future research. It is good that we had obtained tracings and photographs. The Eye of Bel in California. Another Eye of Bel 9 inches long was discovered by Buchanan in June 1988 during a field trip to a site in the Owens Valley, California. He saw the eye then with age on a stone with parallel rows of zigzags marked resembling the Egyptian hieroglyph for water. The image contained a round pupil and two long strokes like eyelashes at the bottom of the eye in the manner of Egyptian tears. An Ogham inscription at the top began with M and was followed by BL. The eyelashes at the bottom of the eye formed an L. Agreeing on the form of the petroglyph, I traced and photographed it while Buchanan sketched. So when they're saying it, it began with M, L, B, L in parentheses, right? That's according to the translation of the hieroglyph, of the pictograph into consonant or to a letter, right? To Phoenician. As the vowels are now written, Buchanan ventured only guesses at a translation. Later consulting his Dwelly's Gaelic dictionary, he gave choice of me, mo, or mu, as intended by the artist. He thought the bottom L denoted la, meaning one day. He wrote, me means I or me, hence me BL la, I am Bel day. Mo means greatest, so mo B la, greatest Bel day. That almost sounds like Mobila, Indians, Mobile, Alabama. So, but it's written MO-B-L-LA, Mobila, greatest Bel day. Mu means for, so Mubella for Bel day. The site is repleted with sun symbols, and it has been demonstrated by Alan Gillespie and John Polanski that one of them is sunset summer solstice emblem. Their work is not yet published. Bel is a sun god. Summer solstice is the one day of the year when there are the greatest number of hours of daylight. Therefore, my vote is for the second suggested translation, greatest Bel day. And then it's, that's where it shows the eye that we just looked at from California. That's what they're talking about with the inscriptions, right? It says the Eye of Bel in South Africa. All right. It says samples have been given at the name of BL in Celtic Ogham script, also shown where eyes of Bel with lashes made of BL symbol. The eyes of Bel is not confined to America. The name and the eye occur together in South Africa, right? So that's what they're talking about in South Africa. All right. And then it says second Anubis. The Egyptian jackal god Anubis is fully described in 2 chapters on the Anubis caves. 2 more images which appear to be Anubis have been found. All right, so again, they found Anubis cave, literally Anubis, the hieroglyphic of Anubis right there with the Mitra and everything, the whole mythology around it, the constellation, alignings, the alignments with the stars and all that in that cave. We've gone over that in a couple videos. So again, we're reading In Plain Sight, Old World Records in Ancient America by Gloria Farley. In Plain Sight. I took the other cover off, the paper one, just so I can read it better. So in October 1978, Schuler, Clyde Keeler, and I were escorted by landowners to a very extensive petroglyph site along a dry riverbed in the Oklahoma Panhandle. There, on a small boulder, very near the ground by cliffside, was found an image which may be a second Anubis, only 3 inches long, but artistically incised. He stood on a small protuberance of stone, as if on a platform. He had the familiar open mouth, upstanding ears, and bushy tail seen on the jackal god at the Anubis caves. His beady eyes were drilled on either side of his nose line. He did not bear the flail, but his Egyptian relationship seemed to be borne out of by a nearby line of crosses, one of which was the cross of Isis. Most puzzling was the fact that his back leg was attached to what appeared to be a 6-inch long alphabetic symbol, an inverted V shape. with a crossbar outside but not inside V. This could not be found in any standard alphabetical references. All right, that's just real quick. You guys can see they ain't look at that. That's a dog. That's Anubis and an inverted B, right? That's what they're talking about, right? Oklahoma. Let me see what you guys saying. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you. In 1986, a misfiled copy of an extract written in French by Antonio Tovar, which contains tables of ancient scripts, was found. There was the sought-for symbol listed as partition, an ancient Spanish script. So they found that inscription and they were calling it Tartesian on their side over there. Yeah, all right. You guys understand? Okay. Yeah, darkness. The luminaries. A copy of the petroglyph of the little canine was mailed to Buchanan, as his specialty is a translation of ancient Spanish and Portuguese inscriptions. Buchanan stated that the particular symbol appears in inscriptions from southern Spain near Portugal, same exact one, and the script is called Tartessian or Turdetanian. Turdetanian. All right, we're talking about this right here. Okay. It falls into the BPVF sound shift category. Try these on your own lips for similarity of enunciation, pronouncing the F as fee. It normally support B or V pronunciation. Buchanan has also seen this symbol on coins. He points out there is Gaelic word balger or balugur, meaning fox, dog, thief. It might have been used to designate the jackal, a sort of thieving dog. Buchanan also suggested that since the symbol in Oklahoma is attached to the leg of the canine, that the leg might possibly be used as a straight vertical stroke, though he did not think this was likely. This arrangement would read Ampu, which was the ancient Egyptian name for Anubis. Yeah. Hey, the vintage mom, appreciate you. Thank you. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. What Buchanan did not know is that the context of this site is North African and also contains much Ogham writing. So two different cultures in one cave in America, right? This is what I'm saying. So where's the original source? Some translates into Arabic and some into Gaelic. So you got all this in one cave, right? In one place. Could a double meaning be possible on this one petroglyph? So you guys see there's so many different languages in this one petroglyph, guys. Come on. Because the dog is an inscription too. The whole thing is an inscription. The previously mentioned line of crosses a few inches from the second Anubis figure also includes a cross very similar to the Portuguese cross. It has been my contention that the petroglyphs and the inscriptions at most of the sites in Oklahoma Panhandle, southeastern Colorado area were made by people of different cultures who met in ancient Spain, then traveled together to the interior of America. Buchanan also stated. So that's our opinion. Seeing it in reverse, this is the true old world. We went from here over there, brought this over there. You understand? Buchanan also stated, as to the origin of this symbol, there is some faint resemblance to P or PI, right, in the Cypriot syllabary and to B characters in the Talmudian and Safavidic syllabaries. Frankly, I don't know the origin of this character yet. I don't know, man. So if I'm saying this originated in America, can they debunk me? And that's the leading expert in that field and that type of script, right? Buchanan. He don't know where the origin is. If they can't tell you where the origin is, then how can they tell you where it's not? Get it? Shout out to 422 The Drop. It says a possible origin is suggested in a magazine article which included a sidebar entitled Earliest Alphabet. a Canaanite invention preserved in Sinai mines. It contains a shard of two inscriptions found in a Sinai turquoise mine. They were written in Proto-Sinaiticus, well, Sinaiticus script, wow, which is the same as the Proto-Canaanite script of the late 18th or early 17th century BC. The alphabet contains a letter similar to the South for symbol, except that the bottom was closed. The symbol was assigned the sound of S. One inscription at the Sinai site read El, one of the names of God in the early Hebrew Bible. The other referred to the collection of turquoise. The Egyptians had operated the turquoise mines for 8 centuries during the Middle Kingdom. So we're talking about turquoise, that's the whole future video I've been wanting to do when it comes to turquoise, right? You guys gonna see how abundant that is in the Southwest in Mexico, turquoise. When we're talking about turquoise and one of those turquoise Egyptian queens, huh? Where was she really from? So either way. So I think Hathor, yeah, it's gonna mention it right here, right now. It says, so the Egyptian had operated the turquoise mines for 8 centuries during the Middle Kingdom. Yeah, over here. A nearby temple was dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Hathor, known as the Lady of the Turquoise. All right, future video in America, Lady of the Turquoise in America. The same article shows an image of Hathor, a human female face with cow's ears. It may be significant that at the same site with the second Anubis is a crude image of human face with the same kind of ears. This may represent Hathor. So, all right, with the big ears right here is what they're talking about. This crudely carved human face with cow's ears. Says here, the third Anubis and the bee goddess. An unseasonably cold day in October 1984 found members of the Epigraphic Society shivering at twilight at the San Cristobal site in northeastern New Mexico after a field day sponsored by the Western branch of the Epigraphic Society. An 8-year-old boy, Matthew Line, who lived in the area, led colleagues Keeler of Georgia, Dr. Warren Cook, and Dexter of Vermont, Dr. Hugh Perry of Oklahoma, and Cynthia Vander Spuy of California to a large packed boulder. They were so impressed that they sent the boy's father, Bill Line, to my car to ask me to come and see a possible Anubis and Tanit. Instead of saving these two magic words immediately, which would have promoted action, Line showed his photographs of the area and the boulder, which he had discovered in 1980. He said he had excavated the bottom line of symbols in 1982. He thought some of the script on the boulder was Egyptian hieratic. Okay. He also thought there was an Egyptian Djet column and a figure of a draft animal, perhaps a horse. All right. They're finding this where? In America, right? Line had devoted much study to his discovery. An explanation was given to him on what an actual Anubis and Djet column should look like. This is a column topped with rings, symbolic of the backbone of Osiris. As it was by this time too dark to see the boulder, we returned the next day. We brought a large sheet of transparent acetate, felt-tipped pens, and yellow chalk. The spitting snow stopped long enough for us to look and work. We stood before a dark boulder, 8 feet high and 9 feet wide, literally covered on one face with pegged designs so ancient, again, so ancient, that the patina in the pits of the designs was as well formed as on the surrounding rock face. We tentatively agreed that the entire panel seemed to depict a cycle of corn fertility and harvest corn. Above a stylized cornfield was a skirted female figure connected to a motif made of concentric semicircles. Perry, a surgeon, and Keeler, a geneticist, identified this as a placenta. All right? This is what they this is what's in the depictions here in this boulder. With its multi-layered membranes and the attached line as an umbilical cord. This ain't just savage people just drawing random things. This was signed deep right here. The outermost line was connected to a crudely pegged canine figure. He had upstanding ears, a bushy tail, and a rather blunt nose, which gave the appearance of a dog instead of a jackal. However, from his back arose the flail of Egypt, with the end of it touching his tail, and the bent of the flail touching the line of the placenta. The 14-inch tall female figure at the top had some interesting attributes. She had 3 arms instead of 2. Her rectangular head sprouted 2 antennae. 2 legs were outspread from an abdomen with 1 dot in the center. She wore a skirt made of concentric curved stripes. This is not Tanit, I announced. It is B, a striped skirt. Cook commented, I can go along with that. There's a Minoan bee goddess. His statement did not seem far-fetched, as some of the script symbols of the boulder appear in the Minoan alphabet. The team later noted that apparent packets of pollen are attached to 1 arm and 1 leg of the figure. Things began to make sense. Returning home, the 6 of us began to send each other references. One book about gods and goddesses of old Europe shows a bee goddess, and 3 attendants portrayed on a gold ring of Isopata near Knossos. All right. So let me just show you the dog first before. So over here, you see? You see the tail sticking up like that? That's an Egyptian way of how they drew Anubis a lot with the tail sticking up like that and all fat. So Knossos and Crete wearing striped skirts. All 3 have the head and hands of an insect. An onyx gem from Knossos shows the bee goddess with insect head flanked by 2 dogs. Both of these are dated at circa 1500 BC. So this same symbol around dogs, just like they're finding here in the Americas, the same. I'm gonna show you what they're talking about, right? So these are like some of the ones in the old world with the dogs next to her. So they're finding this here, which they're saying is the same thing, just in a more classic petroglyph form, guys. This is what I'm saying. This is more ancient than what they're finding over there on coins and all this other stuff. So before it got to coins and the walls and their documents, right? So that's what they were describing. So all 3 have the heads of an insect. An onyx gem from Nosa shows the bee goddess with insect head flanked by 2 dogs. Both of these are dated at circa 1500 BC. A painting of the bee goddess on an amphora dated circa 700 BC also shows her with 2 dogs. A gold plaque of the bee goddess with human head and bee abdomen from Camilos on the island of Rhodes shows her wearing an Egyptian headdress. Okay. So apparently the grain canine relationship was widespread in the old world. Dog and grain, huh? Maize, huh? As discussed at length by Fraser. In his discussion, Fraser uses the word corn in parentheses. Look, he's literally saying he uses the word corn as a genetic term for all grains. Wow. So people like to debate me on that, say they don't mean corn, they just mean grain. What's the most popular grain then in the world? Corn, right? It's a reason why they call it corn in general. And corn is a grain, right? But then we have other things to corroborate why they mean maize and many of these ancient, when they're talking about the plant they're talking about, right? We know they're talking about maize and corn, right? So he's using corn as the term grain will be used in this discussion to avoid confusion. So in East Prussia, a wolf running through the field was watched to see if he held his tail high or dragged it. That's why the tail is high in that glyph. That's like the Egyptian Anubis. Listen, if held high, they cursed the wolf and tried to kill him. He was considered the grain spirit, whose fertilizing power was in his tail. In harvest customs in northeastern France during the last century, the person who cut the last handful of hay or wheat is said to kill the dog. In Lorraine, the man who cuts the last stalk is said to be killing the dog of the harvest. Gillespie reported that when he was in Yunnan, China, that at the end of the rice harvest, the farmers not only killed the dog, but ate it. Oh man. Oh man. Oh, that's messed up. These actions are apparently caused by the belief that the grain spirit lives in the fields and at time of harvest must travel from plant to plant as it cut until the spirit inhabits the last standing plant. As it is harvested, the spirit escapes into the nearest animal or even a passing stranger. A sacrifice must then be made to ensure the fertility of the next crop. Healer has added to the subject of the dog attached to the placenta from his rich knowledge of ancient Egyptian mythology and parallels to it from the Kuna Indians of Panama. Okay? He points out that the guardian dog on the embryo standard of Sumerian Naram Sin and Blunt Nose, the Kuna guardian dog, all right, from the Kuna Indians in Panama, which attached umbilical cord and fetal membranes, is the spirit of the placenta. The Guami burn up the child's placenta to kill the dog guardian, thus releasing the guardian spirit. The Kuna seem to do the same. All right, they have that practice. The Kuna Indians of Panama, same like the ancient so-called Egyptians. In recent years, there have been much research on the subject that early forms of the American corn plant reached Asia. We've already proven that. You see what I'm saying? Like they're gonna catch up to us one day, guys. They'll catch up. The rest of the world will catch up, right? Maize was over there. People brought maize, helped them get civilized. Maize changed everything over there. You know, it was regarded as, from the gods, So either way, he's saying now they want to admit that it seems that early forms of the American corn plant reached Asia and India in ancient times. Really? Well, ain't the statues holding maize? The statues in the temples in Hindustan? I've shown you guys that, right? Maize is a native plant to the Americas. And then it says it spread to Europe. When Dr. Joseph B. Mahan and his wife, Dr. Catherine Mahan, were doing research in 1977 on the origin of the Yuchi Indians in Pakistan, huh? What? She photographed a stone carving in the museum at Peshawar near the Khyber Pass. The carving had been made in the Gandhara period, which covered the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. The carving showed people and ears of maize corn, with the husks pulled back to expose the rows of kernel. Mahan also saw a primitive type of white maize with only 8 or 10 rows of kernels, which is still grown in several places in North Punjab. He recognized this as an identical to a variety he knew was originally grown by the Yuchis in the American Southwest. So because he's saying, oh, I found people over there, he's saying they came from over there, you might be seeing it in reverse. Brought that over there. The Yuchis are still growing it, right? And this is an American plant, right? Who's older? It is now very rare in America, surviving only in a few places where it has been carefully protected from pollination from other types of corn. Other writers have published on the same subject of corn reaching the Old World before Columbus, especially Johannesson. And again, in my corn videos, we read Johannesson's research. If you guys haven't watched my corn videos, proven corn was over there. Especially, he focused a lot on India and Asia and China. He proved it, you know. Bell notes that excavations in Spain have revealed American maize in ancient silos. He feels that this is evidence of trade between America and Spain that dates back to at least 195 BC. We've been going all over the world. Columbus didn't discover anything. He was never lost. Wasn't he coming from Spain? So if his people were trading with ancient Americans since 195 BC, as it says here, why wouldn't Columbus know that America was here? Oh, we forgot. Or why'd you forget? Or did you all forget? And some of you keep the truth to yourselves. And Columbus had connections to that truth. So-called Columbus, right? AKA Sarko, the praying mantis god. All right, so we can move on. It says several images of African gods are carved on stone along a dry river in the Oklahoma Panhandle. The Egyptian gods Anubis and Hathor have already been discussed. A third Egyptian god at this site, Sobek, will be represented in the chapter, The Trail of the Egyptians. So Sobek, they say in African, right? They call him that. That's Egyptian. Egyptian. Real Egypt, not in Africa. So it's really not an African, but all right. We had The same deities of crocodiles, alligators here. They found out we've gone over that so many times, guys. We can do videos on that specifically, and I will. There appears to be yet another god from Africa on the cliffside by a dry river in western Oklahoma. The image is of a long insect, probably a praying mantis, because of its huge round eyes. This fascinating stick-like green creature usually rests with its front feet pressed together as if in an attitude of prayer, and is able to swivel its head and look backwards. A small Ogum inscription is cut into the side of the petroglyph, and the front part of its body is superimposed over the petroglyph of a deer. They share legs. Wow. So this is what they're saying, right? Let me just show you guys on this side over here. Over here. All right. I know it's hard to see. My fault, guys. Don't worry. I have this scan in my Patreon one day, the full PDF. We're working on it. These pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place when I read the book My People, written by the Zulu shaman Mutwa. In his chapter, The Beginnings, he tells the creation story of the Hottentots, a beautiful woman, Oa Nanua, while sleeping in a cave, dreamed of a huge, brilliant green praying mantis, which told her that he wanted her to become his lover and wife. There was such wisdom, love, and compassion mirrored in his eyes that she consented. The next day he appeared. Through many years of happiness, they had many sons and daughters, the first Hottentots to walk the earth. Then one day, so Hottentots like the Khoisan people of South Africa, right? The Khoisan. The one day the mantis told his wife that the time had come for him to depart to the land of the unseen. And after blessing the Amatola Mountains as a place of refuge, he disappeared. That was the last that the Hottentots saw of their creator and God. A praying mantis god, Khan, is also described from another source as the creator god of the Bushmen of South Central Africa. Khan has a wife, Koti, and two sons. It's almost like Cain, because it's C-A-G-N. How do you guys pronounce that? C-A-G-N. Cain, Cain, Cain is a sorcerer, huh? And so it says, so he had a wife, Koti, and two sons. He is a sorcerer and often changes his shape to that of an antelope. This reference may explain why the Oklahoma image of the insect is connected with the deer of the same size. Same kind of matching the stories of Africa, right? We hope the huge stone surface might contain, sorry, I skipped sign, sorry. This reference may explain why the Oklahoma, okay, the entire site by the dry river seems to be a mixture of African and Celtic images and scripts. So again, a mixture of so-called African and Celtic all in one place. The whole site is saying here, there's one place. The entire site by the dry river seems to be a mixture, and there's one place in the Americas. So where is the true source before it went out into the world and spread out to different regions? Spell whose name? Says the Jesus monogram. Oh no. Well, this is interesting. Let's see what it says. It says the Leflore County, Eastern Oklahoma. In Leflore County, Eastern Oklahoma, there is an outcrop of stone 200 feet long and 50 feet wide, literally covered with inscriptions. It was first seen in 1968 after a visit with Alf Monge and Syversen in California, who were my co-authors on runic inscriptions. We hoped the huge stone surface might contain some runes. One small vertical area had a faint line of unrecognizable symbols, but ended with a deeply carved motif which seemed to be important. When sent to Monge, he immediately recognized the symbol as a runic monogram for Jesus. That's what he's saying. Hey, this is the symbol of Jesus. Really? Is that what it really means? We're talking about ancient America, right? Before Christianity. But this is how they interpret it, right? The combined runes of Jesus, always ultra cautious, Manji pointed out that the monogram could also read Susi. So it's either Jesus or Susie. So which one is it? It's two different things, right? So see what I'm saying? Not that society board game. No, 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 no. Although it could, this is not likely because the runes are in proper order for Jesus, but not for Susie. It also seems unlikely that this modern woman's name would appear in a line of curious script and an area with a plethora of ancient inscriptions on stone. Okay, so this is what they're saying they're finding here. Let me show you guys. In Oklahoma, and this is the one in the middle, and the one in the top is the one in Oklahoma. The one in the bottom is the comparison right here on this side, guys. You see? It's literally almost does look the same, but come on now. Is that what it really means? You guys see that? So the one in the top on this side, right, is the one they found in Oklahoma, and then this was the comparisons in the bottom. It's literally almost the same, right? Look at that. They found that here in the Americas. Look at that. Yeah. Monge also knew of runic prayer containing similar monogram of Jesus carved on a bedstead on exhibit in the Museum of Antiquities of Reykjavik in Iceland. So that's what he was comparing. The one on the bottom is from Iceland, right? So the actual reference was found 6 years later by Gary Coover of Tulsa, Oklahoma, then a student at Rice University, Houston, Texas. The school's library had a drawing of the runes on the bedstead, described as certainly the most thorough use of bind runes which exist. Although carved in 1837, the most important panel copies what is apparently an ancient runic prayer. In it, the name Jesus is spelled out rune by rune, and it also contains monograms for Jesus, combined in almost the exact form as in the Oklahoma monogram. It is followed by a symbol which means sign of the cross. It is to be noted that in the Oklahoma version, the form of Latin cross also appears in the line of script, but upside down. The Oklahoma monogram for Jesus could mean that an early Norse Christian was here, leaving a sign on stone of his belief. Could be, now this is them conjecturing now, but they're finding the same inscription here, right? Let's see. They keep going. Oh, this is funny. Wow. So they're finding a face with like a halo around it. They saying possible portrait of Jesus because there's a guy with a halo around it. Nothing else uh to prove that I mean, this is just all right, let's just see what it says. It says, in the same cave within a Colorado cliffside, which contains the Eye of Bel, previously discussed in this chapter, there is a 9 by 12-foot carved panel containing a bewildering array of Ogham writing, geometric patterns, anthropomorphs, and other motifs. Given only 5 minutes for tracing by my guide during my first visit, my decision was to record a 17-inch anthropomorphic figure plus a 3-inch motor from the adjacent wall. The large frontal face figure had apparent tears streaming from one eye and wore a spiked crown like thorns and a halo. The fleeting thought that it was a representation of Jesus seemed absurd, so the hasty tracing was filled and forgotten. All right, so again, let me just show you. This is what I'm saying, guys. Like a face for almost like a halo around and inscriptions. They say it's Jesus, possible Jesus. Possible Jesus on the other side, right? I mean, I dodged the hijack a little bit. Well, it could be so many other things. Oh, come on. Come on now. Dodge the hijack. Dodge the hijack. That's an afro. Hey, you're right. It could be a hairstyle. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Were you talking about afro? Oh, okay. So after hearing a tape Fell sent me, with his voice stating that he had deciphered a long Celtic Ogham inscription, which mentioned how to determine the date of Easter. It was realized that the Ogham recorded by colleagues was only around a corner of 6 or 7 feet away from the crowned figure. Easter suggested Christ. Does Easter really suggest Christ? That's older than Christianity, right, guys? Like either way, these guys are Christian. You can tell they're a little biased, right? A reduced drawing of the figure was tested on my minister, Reverend Raymond Shepherd, by asking what he thought it represented, and there you go. He just admitted he went to his minister, his reverend. He went to ask his reverend. So I told you, you know, being a little biased. His unhesitant answer was the crucifixion. The drawing was then sent to Fell, who agreed since my hasty tracing was incomplete. Fell gave only a tentative translation. There may be the Ogham strokes, Christ, which in Gaelic means Christ. He did identify the 3-inch motif nearby as a stylized crucifix. The suggestion was then made to Fell that if the figure is indeed a portrait of Jesus, colleagues and the landowner had not recognized it as such, that the head closely resembled the Celtic art style of Christ and apostles as portrayed in the Book of Kells. Comparisons of the Colorado head and that of St. John from the Book of Kells were sent to him. The Book of Kells, preserved at the Trinity College Library in Dublin, is considered the world's greatest Celtic art treasure. References do not agree on the date of the book's origin. Guesses range from the middle 6th century to the early 9th century AD. A similar illuminated manuscript, the Lindisfarne Gospel, was produced under the supervision of Aed Frith around 696 to 98 AD. Both books were made and painted by hand in monasteries. The text is Latin. The portraits of the apostles and other gospel characters combine Celtic artwork with the influence of Mediterranean art. So that drawing in the bottom right here, that's from the Book of Kells. So they was trying to compare, right, the inscription with that. Oh man, come on now. See that? Yeah, and then this guy raised with his arms, they're probably saying that's the crucifixion. All right. But you guys discern it yourself. So the complete recording recording of the entire panel was not accomplished until 1985 when Darrell Phillips, who was not afraid to hang out over space while perched on a ladder, traced it on a transparent plastic. Phil has not had the time or energy to tackle deciphering 108 square feet of script and petroglyphs. To understand the petroglyphic montage, a translator needs to stand before the complex panel. The new recordings provided more needed details about the site. They showed a dim vertical line of Ogham strokes down the chest of the figure and a complicated pattern to the right. It is apparently Ogham writing, with a curious cross hatched design within an oval shape. An idea was proposed by Jerry Kreitner, a geologist, when he saw the tracing of this design. He said it represents a manger made of interwoven tree branches and pointed out the cross-braced legs. Although everyone might not agree, there appears to be other motives associated with Christ in the figure. Superimposed upon the figure are the signs which appear to be various crosses. There are 3 crosses and a chi, RHO or rho motif formed by the middle cross and the right side of the halo, which forms the letter P. In recent years, techniques to age date petroglyphs has been devised. This testing is described as a Cation ratio Cation ratio comparison of rock varnish in the carved grooves of a petroglyph with the nearby untouched stone surfaces. The theory behind this test is that for a given region of the country, once a fresh rock surface is exposed, as is done when carving a petroglyph, there is consistent shift over time in the Cation ratios within the clay minerals in the rock face. By comparing the Cation ratios within the grooves of a petroglyph with those of the uncarved rock around the petroglyph, the age of the carving can supposedly be determined. This method is as yet controversial. According to age determination tests of several petroglyph sites in southeastern Colorado and northwestern Oklahoma, this anthropomorphic figure is listed as 300 years before present and is attributed to the Plains Indians. The nearby Ogham script 6 or 7 feet to the left, which concerns Easter, is reported as dating from more than 2,000 years before the present in the same report. So with that type of dating, that's the numbers they're getting. They're saying, wow, this is like 2,000 years old, huh? This is a great discrepancy as the context of the site ties to 2 petroglyphs together. Also, the Eye of Bel, a truly ancient motif, was carved with apparent difficulty on the ceiling. If the nearby wall, which contains a proposed portrait of Jesus proposed, was blank at the time, why go through the trouble of putting the eye in such a difficult position? The portrait must have been contemporaneous or earlier than the eye. Many questions remain, but if more of the Ogham writing at the site could be translated, and a commonly accepted method of dating petroglyphs is devised and widely used, perhaps this may eventually be called the oldest portrait of Christ in America. Huh. Of what they're saying is Christ, right? Okay. Like that's like over here. That's like the whole glyph. And so in the glyph, there's writing on top of it, like as you guys see in the bottom of it right here. So this is what they're kind of deciphering. So this is what they're calling the Christ, which could be an afro or a hair towel. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. What if it wasn't? They're just over here like, hey, it's Christ. It's Christ. The halo. That's funny. That's funny. All right, hold on, guys. Let me see what we're working with here. Oh, we're not even that. We're almost done. That's good. All right, let's go. Oh, now it's gonna get interesting. Check this out. So these are like stone. I think we know of one of these tablets, which has like Paleo and Sumerian cuneiform style, right? They're gonna talk about these tablets right here. All right. I'm sorry about the quality and it's so small, right? I know. But that's what they're gonna start talking about. All right. Has all these old world inscriptions. Okay. So it says the goddess Inanna in Oklahoma. It says Inanna, the ancient Sumerian goddess of love, worshipped about 4,800 years ago in territory which is now modern Iraq. That's the hijack. That could have been here. That's why they're finding it here. They name places all over. It's a whole story, guys. If you're not caught up, catch up, please. Please catch up. Yeah, shout out to everybody who's been here for the long journey. So, so she was certainly not expected to be found in Oklahoma. Inanna. Her motive was not recognized when a 1.5 inch heavy black stone in size on the top surface was brought for my inspection in May 1989. It had been found near Shawnee Creek by an inmate on the grounds of the Wachita Correctional Center, a prison without walls near Hodgson in eastern Oklahoma. The patina within the grooves of the carving was fully as dark as the smooth top surface, indicating that the inscription was of great age. A latex mold and photographs were submitted to Fell. In his returning telephone call, he identified these marks as motives associated with Inanna. He had been studying the development of these ideograms from ancient Dilmun, right? Bell is an expert in this, guys. Due to the submission to him of a paper for publication on the topic by Ali Akbar H. Bushiri of Bahrain, this island in the Persian Gulf had once been the site of the vanished city of Dilmun, which was situated between Sumer to the north and the advanced civilization of the Indus Valley to the east. So check this out, right? This is what I'm saying, guys. So they're saying that's where the ancient site was over there, but it's a vanished city today. It's not there. There's no trace. It's vanished. It's not there. No trace of it. We're just supposed to believe. Oh, you say it's over here. Okay. Well, we'll believe that, I guess, even though it's vanished. And now they're finding all these ruins here in the American. They don't know what they were. What could this ruin be? What could this ruin be? So I was told that I had noted a super supporting link between Dilmun and the Mississippi Valley. Come on, man. We were talking about with Mesopotamia and the Mississippi Valley in the form of a southern cold motif of crested bird heads revolving in a circle. Bushiri had already published one example of this motif from Dilmun. This motif greatly resembles many from the southern states considered Indian, and also example from the spiral mounds of Oklahoma. The Southern Colt is the name given to a series of mounds, which extends mainly from Etowah, Georgia, north to Cahokia, Illinois, south to Moundsville, Alabama, and west of Spiral, Oklahoma. These sites are grouped together because of similarities in cultural ceremonies and artifacts found at each of them. Bell and I also discussed the cuneiform tablet dug up in Georgia. She's not saying it's a fake. She's saying me and Barry, we also discussed the tablet. She's not saying the controversial. She's saying the tablet, the cuneiform tablet that dug up in Georgia, guys, dug up in Georgia, the true old world that was discussed in Mahan's book. These were previously discussed in the chapter They Came in Ships. The text of the tablet allowed it to be dated 2040 BC based on the writing on the tablets they found in Georgia, these little tablets with cuneiform style inscriptions based on that type of writing that only existed supposedly in the years 2040 BC around that time. So that's how they dated and showed that its place of origin was ancient Sumer. So if you found it in Georgia and you're saying that its place of origin is Sumer, so you're calling this Sumer, huh? Now they got to prove how that got from supposedly over there in Iraq and Mesopotamia all the way over to Georgia on ground that was not proven to be touched in thousands of years. Like the geologists know if somebody had dug that up and placed that in there, they can tell the strata, guys. You guys know they can identify things like that, right? Okay. Yeah, this is big right here, but most people don't understand how big this is, what we're reading, what we're understand, trying to show the world, right now, you know, and they're finding cuneiform tablets in Georgia. And she's literally saying this is from ancient Sumer. So, okay. So this is ancient America. This jogged our memory on another small cuneiform tablet from Montana, on which Fell had published. So they had another one who's similar they found in Montana. So the one over here, let me see. The same one, but I just want to show you this is what they're talking about, okay? Oh gosh, come on. Come on. Come on, let it see that. Oh, come on. Uh they're hating. There we go. All right. Ancient cuneiform on it. They found in Georgia. They found a similar one in Montana. All right. These ain't hoaxes. Wow. These ain't hoaxes. And you can't prove that. An article in the Smithsonian Magazine inspired further research. It stated that a clay tablet was found in the personal effects of Chief Joseph of Nez Perce, India, in Montana, 1878. We've actually seen this. We've talked about it. Chief Joseph, he said he had it for generations. His ancestors had kept it in the family, and he was the last one to have it. That's what he told the Europeans when they say, "Where'd you get this, man? This is Sumerian. This is cuneiform." He said, "Nah, that's from my ancestors, man. What you talking about, man?" He was the last leader of his tribe to surrender during their attempt to flee their Idaho reservation in hopes of reaching Canada. The U Canan, Canada, Cananda, Cananda. The U.S. Army took the tablet, which ended up in the museum of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York. Okay, so why would the military take this tablet, guys? Why would the government have it in a museum, in a military museum, still till today? Why would they take it and be showcasing it if it's a hoax? Does that make sense to you? Why they never told nobody? Why do you have a hoax if it's because this is supposed to be a hoax, right? Why do you have it there? And if it's real, then prove that it came from the other side of the world. Prove that. You can't prove that. It's proven to be found in the ground. Geologically, they can't say it was buried. No, it was found in Georgia. Okay, translated by Professor Robert Biggs of the University of Chicago, this tablet, as with the Georgia one, is in a receipt for a lamb. It is dated in the year Enmagalama was installed in summer as the high priest of Nana, the moon god, about 2042 BC. It seems to be not more than 2 years older than the Georgia cuneiform tablet. The tablet was presumed to have been made in southern Iraq. Presumed. Then how did it get to Georgia before Europeans got here, huh? Excavations in the Near East made such tablets eventually available on the world market. But this was not until 1909. Listen, 30 years after Chief Joseph tablet was seized. So they can't say that somebody forged it and brought it over because they hadn't even found this in the market in the rest of the world till 1909, guys. They guys understand Chief Joseph had this in the 1800s. They found this. This is the first, literally the first, before the ones they started making official in other parts of the world. This type of tablet and writing. You guys understand that? This is deep. This is like people try to debate all this stuff. Like, why are you trying to make America everything? America, like, if you guys only knew, if you guys only understood the implications of what they're telling you right now. Again, I'm gonna read that back to you. It says excavations in the Near East. So they didn't start discovering this till after the one that Joseph had given them, right? Excavations in the Near East made such tablets eventually available on the world market. But this was not until 1909, 30 years after Chief Joseph's tablet was seized. Correspondence with the curator of the West Point Museum determined that the tablet was still there, although their files do not contain the history of the tablet. Huh. Oh, we lost. I don't know what you talking about, Willis. We don't know what you're talking about, man. Permission was obtained by Dexter to visit the museum and photograph it, which he did on May 8th, 1991. They had it, right? Dexter reported the tablet appeared to be made of baked clay, tan in color, measuring 1 1/8 by 1 1/4 inches, but pillow shaped like the Georgia example. The West Point Museum stone is 3/8 inch at its thickest part. Both sides are covered with cuneiform script. We will always wonder how it came to be owned by Chief Joseph. How did Chief Joseph have this? We don't know. So how are you gonna make up everything else? You see, guys, the irony in that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is what I'm trying to say, man. Like, you understand what I'm trying to say? How can you say, how can you give us an origin for it if you have no idea how it got to his hands? Right? Come on now. Now, knowing everything we know about the Americas, us here in this community can understand how, because this is the true old world. There's probably many of them that already were found here, but they put them in museums in the world and say, oh, it came from Mesopotamia, it came from Egypt, it came from, and they were really coming from here, or just not been found yet. They haven't been found yet, you know? So we always wonder where he got it. The Indian warrior who said, I will fight no more forever. With supporting evidence of the crested bird motif and the cuneiform tablets from ancient summer, I visited the Wichita Correctional Center on May 23rd, 1989. The warden granted me an interview with the finder Guillermo Farias, a John Hispanic. He explained that on his daily breaks from his work, he often roamed the woods between a warehouse and Shawnee Creek. The small creek is a tributary of Black Fork River, which flows into the Poteau River and then into the Arkansas River. Farias pointed on to a row of a small box sandstone embedded in poison ivy, about 25 yards from the creek. He said that he noticed the small black stone in a row and picked it up because it looked like wrinkled skin. On the bottom of the almost cubical stone is a concretion, which would fit this description. This indicates that the carved motif was face down, which may account for its good state of preservation. Although one corner of the flower-like design at the top may be missing, the artifact was inspected by geologist Orville Russell of Maryland, who identified it as iron stone, which is not indigenous to the area. Iron stone, not indigenous. We were making iron too, guys. Like, this is what I'm saying. So it's called the Shawnee Creek stone. This is probably not going to be able to see too good, but that's what they're showing here. All right, on the where my hand is, the Shawnee Creek stone, which is what they're calling iron stone. So it says a search party was sent by the warden to look for similar stones on the prison property. Although none were found, I was later told confidently by a staff member that another inmate had found a similar stone, 6 or 7 inches long, inscribed with the same kind of symbols. Knowing that the stone would be confiscated, since inmates are not allowed to keep anything which could be used as a weapon, and saying if he could not have it, then nobody could, he threw it in the creek. The small Shawnee Creek stone was lent to me for a short time for research work. A letter was obtained from Dr. Don Wyckoff, director of the Oklahoma Archaeological Survey, saying that the state of Oklahoma would have no vested interest in the alleged find unless it had been in a grave. This, of course, was not the case. In 1989, an article by Bushiri, The Reconstructive Writing System of the Dilmun Culture, and my article on the Shawnee Creek Stone were both published. I sent Bushiri, who is a scholar at the Bahrain Research and Service Center, clear photographs and latex mold of the Shawnee Creek Stone, and he telephoned me with the news that it appears to bear authentic symbols of the goddess Inanna, which appear on the ancient seals of Dilmun. All right, you guys can't really see that, but on this side of the stone, oh man, let me see. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you guys can see there's like an inscription on the stone, little design here. That's what he's talking about, right? And so he says it resembles, you know, Inanna, which appear in the ancient seals of Dilmun, showing connections to the mythology of ancient summer. He owns a vast collection of the Dilmun seals. He also had been permitted to make more than 1,000 photographs of other seals in a museum in Kuwait. It is fortunate that he did, as all the Kuwaiti specimens disappeared during the Persian Gulf War. Wow. Oh, they were really fighting Iraq and terrorists, right? Or they destroying old world culture or things that linked it to America. That's a big one right there, huh? Says Bushiri and I continued to work together until our joint paper was published in 1992. This contained his verification that 4 of the 5 symbols on the Shawnee Creek stone relate to Inanna. Okay, so this is what's on the stone right here. These are the so you guys can see the glyphs on this page right here. Uh, okay, so these glyphs right here is what's on the stone, guys. Those are all symbols of Inanna. They're saying, okay, that's on the stone, and that's Buchiriri, Buchiri, Buchiri. So that's what's found on that rock, was just basically one of the symbols is Venus star, Inanna, queen of heaven and earth, goddess of morning and evening star. The other one is of Inanna, lady goddess of love. Nana, moon god. Let me see if you can do this. Oh, we can't even do this. I'm gonna find a better way to read books for you guys. Nana, moon god, father of Inanna. That's the one that looks like a U. Third ranking god of Dilmun after Inanna and Utu. And then the other symbol says a symbol of fertility. Inanna, goddess of fertility. Actual symbol has 3 cross bars. Another horizontal line is at the bottom at break in stone. So basically, guys, what they're saying, when you find these symbols and like over there in the areas where they knew this culture was supposed to be in the other side of the world, they'll always relate these symbols to Inanna, right? So it's not like, oh, they're just making it up. So if they're making it up here, then they're making it up all over the world because that's what they associate these symbols to, right? To her. The old world religions, cults, and gods presented in this chapter are extremely diverse, okay? But if one phrase could be found in common among the people they represent, it would be let us worship. Let us worship. Of all the old world deities, all right, all the old world deities, it's getting dark here. I told you guys it gets dark here at a certain time. Sorry, but if one phrase could be found in common represented, let us, of all the old world deities that I have recorded, none dogged me through the years as did Tanit, the Carthaginian moon goddess. The next chapter is devoted to my encounters with her. All right. That would be chapter 7, the affinity of Tanit. All right, which we're gonna get on a future episode. All right. Future episode, guys. Future episode. Again, this is the book In Plain Sight, Old World Records in Ancient America by Gloria Farley. That's from chapter 4. It's from the Anubis cave. That's Anubis right there. All right, in plain sight. That's the hardcover version. That was a paperback. All right, we read chapter 6 today. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. What you guys think of that, huh? What you guys think of that? Oh, wow, wow, yeah. Yeah. What you guys think of that, huh? Oh, wow. All right, let's see. Let me just see if I can read the chat real quick before I go. I got a soccer scrimmage in about an hour. Looking forward to that. Little 5-on-5, 6-on-6 actually, with some elders. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. That was a really good chapter, though. I'm glad I read that with you guys. Everything always fits together perfectly. Okay, we can. I caught that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's go ahead. I see you guys. Hey, all the family here, all the tribe. I see you guys. Yeah, it's written. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Wow. They know Georgia's Atlantis. Let's go. Even Trump know hands Indian flag behind him. Yup. You tell one lie and they just keep coming. We know what's up. We know what's going on. Yeah. Shihin Matuya Latket, or Chief Joseph, young Joseph, huh? He followed those underground art dealers and antiques. Yep. Okay. I'm just reading some of the chat. Everything you're talking about. Reference by Big Judah. Yeah, Big Judah. Shout out. So interesting. Hey, I'm glad you liked it, Laverne. Hey, much love to you guys. Much love to you guys. Appreciate you guys a lot as well. Thank you for actually tuning in. You know, thank you for that. I'll give you your Wednesday afternoon back or morning or night, wherever you are in the world. Yeah, much love. Shashameen. Sasha Mean, right? He say Sasha Mean? Sasha Mean. But you're probably a good person, not mean, right? No, I'm just messing. Harold Alichita, Laverne, Big EJ, the smoker, he who is from the house of Cormier, Ipomoa, modern day Samaritan woman. Appreciate everybody here. J9, hey, everybody, all the moderators, all the patron supporters, man. We've been here 2.5 hours. I thought it was gonna take me longer to read. It's actually a pretty long chapter, guys. It was actually a pretty long chapter. You know, I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to have time to read this before I got to go to my soccer game. We were able to do it. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was a lot of pages. All right, but we're good. We're getting through the book at least. All right, we got the playlist. Again, you want to catch the whole playlist, just go to my playlist tab on my YouTube channel, and you'll find one that's called In Plain Sight. You'll be able to get all the previous readings of this book. And I'll have this book available in my Patreon for everybody soon. I'll keep showing up, no worries. I'll keep showing up, man. I keep coming, even they hating. I'm over here still in YouTube jail. I got like 57 days for the copyright strike, you know. I was literally gonna read another book, guys. I was gonna read this book. It's called An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. Shout out to the person who sent this to me. Shout out to Princess. And I'm scared to read that because I don't want her to give me a copyright, you know, because a lot of those hard to get books that are not on PDF form or online or promoted too much, they want money, 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 money. They don't care about promotions or you reading it and correcting some parts of the book like we do in a lot of books, right? They don't like that. They personally give me they try to do that copyright thing, you know, so whatever. But we'll wait till that strike is over and then we'll get ready to start reading that book. This is a good book too, right? Great job. Okay. Yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and go get ready for my soccer scrimmage, go do some cardio work. That's why I do it. I usually just go for running and action and sweating, you know, having some fun with the elders. And these are good like these are good skilled players though. Like these elders would dribble most unexperienced people. Like in soccer. Like, and they'll outrun most people too, a lot of them. I'm talking about people in the 50s, 60s, like still playing soccer at a high levels, right? But yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna go get that exercise, cardio, right? Earlier I was like working on some other videos, I pre-record certain things, I investigate. I was working in my yard, I'm getting that cleaned up again for my garden, getting it ready, you know. So that's kind of what I was doing, and then go live, about to go to my scrimmage, it's ongoing, stay productive, stay doing things, keep busy, keeps you young, and your passions, I don't mean like, oh, you gotta keep working for somebody. No, no, just and your passions, work on your passions. Go do family things. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, do family things in between, all that. But yeah, appreciate you guys. We're gonna go out with this pretty funky little beat we had earlier. It's called Forest Find. Forest Find. Yeah. Appreciate everybody that came through. Appreciate you too if you came later and watched this later. We were live, all right? We were live. Go get my cardio on for real, man. I'm excited. I get my cardio on, go score some goals, like go run. I get really excited when I got my little soccer scrimmages, you know. Yeah. I give thanks to the Most High, Tawa Tahawa, for being able to do that. Not everybody can run or able to play soccer or do sports, not every, so, we give thanks always to the Great Spirit of allowing us to do this, read this, then go play soccer, work on my garden, take care of my family. We give thanks Hawa all the time. I give thanks to all the people here, all of Hawa's people right here to support this learning, this community, this building, this remembering, you know. Yeah, remember who you are. Much love and respect, mi gente. Much love and respect, all right? Pura vida, pure life, pure water. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow.